Hello, my name is Gavin Hofer, and this is my course presentation here. My video game is called Trailblazer, and we'll get right into it. So the concept for my game is that you can choose different American historical events and play a story mode game living through them. And hopefully this can open some people's eyes and be really an immersive experience for people who want to learn more about these different events. You can choose things from, like I said here, from like World War One all the way to the Underground Railroad, just so many different options you can choose from to hopefully learn a little bit more about American history. So my game will be available on new generation consoles. So we've got, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, those kind of consoles. And the reason I chose to do it on things like this is because of actually my audience, young adults, younger people who are trying to learn, who are in school in these history classes, reading off of textbooks, reading chapters, following along on these PowerPoints with their class and in lecture, stuff like that. And so this game would provide a more immersive experience. So to go back on why I chose to do consoles, I think that those are more popular among this young demographic of individuals who would be playing the game. Um, and the whole goal here is to just reach as many people as you possibly can, right? And so I just think choosing a platform with your main target audience, that's just going to be your best option to hopefully have your game succeed. Options and user interface. So for the user interface, I took inspiration from Hogwarts Legacy. As you can see in the bottom picture, you can see the health bar, the map, the items that they're using, and then the menu up top, which is just very user friendly. And really anybody could figure that out. As for the avatar's movement, just like any role-playing game on console, there'll be the left and right joysticks that control the movement and the camera's point of view. When you start running, you just need to hold on to the left bumper of the controller. Games like Dead by Daylight have that option for running. I know games like Fortnite, you can long hold the left joystick and that will make you run, but I decided to go with the left bumper on mine. The triangle button on PlayStation, the Y button on Xbox, and the top button for the Nintendo Switch, that'll be the interaction button on my game. So if you need to move a box or talk to a person or an NPC, that's just how you interact with those individuals. And then back on the menu topic, that can just be done by pressing the options button on your controller. And mine will be narrow and deep. I think that makes it easier at first, and that's better. I think when people understand something quicker, it makes them enjoy it more. So that's why I chose to go with that way. Saving and checkpoints. So throughout each event that you can choose to play from, there will be checkpoints throughout, and you need to follow the storyline in order to get to those checkpoints. And once you do, the game will automatically save. Just like most video games nowadays, you don't really have to worry too much about your progress, especially on these newer generation consoles. Just auto saving will be better. So in case your game crashes or whatnot, you don't have to worry about losing any of your progress. Alrighty, moving on to core mechanics. My game does have all five. There's physics, internal economy, progression, tactical maneuvering, and social interaction. So physics, obviously my game is replicating real life events, so we want real life physics in the game as well. We want it to be as realistic as possible for the players. For internal economy, my game does include XP that you can get and build upon on your account, and that's a numeric value that you can keep track of. For progression, I just talked about saving and checkpoints that you can earn along the way, and along with progression, there are trophies that you can earn that I will talk about just in this next slide here. For tactical maneuvering, it is an open world, so you're able to roam around and do a little bit of exploring. And then lastly, social interaction is because there is NPCs and other people that you have to talk to move along in the story. So I'm glad my game was able to incorporate all five of these, so there was some balance in there that we could have. All right, levels. So I talked about this a little bit in that last slide right there, but for every event that you do complete, you do earn a trophy. And you can see all of the trophies that you earned in the user menu. And once you do get all of the trophies, then you do get a final big trophy that shows that you completed all of the different events that you could do. So in my game, there's not much character development or narrative because these were real life events that like I'm not making up my own story. These did happen. So that's why I didn't really incorporate that too much into my presentation just because I can't manipulate that. But for the world, I want this 3D realistic style. So I took this picture sample from Red Dead Redemption 2, and I just think the detail in this is absolutely beautiful with the shadows and that horse's tail swaying and the grass, trees, clouds. I just think when I first had, my game in mind, this is exactly what I had pictured. And so that's why I decided to sample this photo right here. Audio and music. This is arguably one of the most important aspects of a video game. So for audio cues, there's like grunts, when they're injured or, jump from a high place, along with like dialogue. Along there, it'll just be set dialogue that the character will speak, including facts or just, fun tidbits in there just to spice up the gameplay. For the music, it'll change depending on the situation that the player's in. So it'll be tense if they're, fighting somebody, or if they're just exploring, it'll be calm and, enjoyable and just like showing the beauty of the world that was around them. All right, on to societal effects. Right now we're going to talk about the good ones. So the biggest thing here is that it is an immersive experience, right? It's gonna make people curious. It's gonna make people want to do their own research on these events and, find more niche, interesting facts, to share. And like if their friends played too, it'll spark conversation and engagement in that community. And hopefully, you learn from the past. The past shapes the future. And so if we're all learning about these events, that's a very good thing. All right, so on to some of the bad effects here. We have desensitization, which I put on here first. And obviously, throughout American history, there have been some real tragedies, and on my flyer, I did put an ESRB rating of M for mature. We do deal with some pretty heavy topics like slavery, war, and just a lot of other discouraging moments in our history. And so if people are exposed to that for too long, they can become desensitized to those issues, which is not a good thing. Nextly is inaccuracies. There might be some historical biases in how, we've been taught these different events occurred. And so if we're playing through this game only through one point of view, there might be some inaccuracies there. Also, if not done tastefully and respectfully, this game could disrespect those who dissent from those who experience these events. So that's why you always have to keep those people in mind, and do it very tastefully in an educational way, not a discriminatory way. But overall, in my opinion, if we go into this game with maturity, having mature people play this game, I believe it could evoke more empathy and a better understanding for American history and the trials that we faced, and just have a better education on topics like that, which is really great for society. All right, so gathering support for the game. Like I said earlier, learning's not all in textbooks and homework assignments, It's meant to be fun and engaging, and I think that's exactly what this game is. Being able to live through some of those experiences, like great things like the civil rights movement, or, being able to experience the hardships people had to go through, like during the Great Depression. I think, just with education in mind, I think that's a really great thing to have in a video game. So This is Trailblazer, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for watching.